Dude,
Okay,
hello.
introducing ourselves again.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, and welcome to Paradise, Mint Potion's weekly tabletop game stream. So, I am joined as always by my best friend John. What are we talking about today, John?
So we're going to be talking today about 40K philosophy and how the philosophy impacts the tabletop game. But we've had some really interesting news hit us recently that he hasn't heard yet. So we're going to
Yeah.
get some fun reaction shots when I let him know about some of the stuff that's happened in the last 24 hours.
Definitely. And it really was all in the last 24 hours. Huh?
All in the
I feel
last
like,
24
okay,
hours.
Good. I was wondering how I got to it. I worked today and had a doctor's appointment, all the adult stuff we all have to do. And I was wondering how I missed it all, but it's just been that fast and furious from what I
Yeah,
gather.
the announcement was last night around about when I found out about it was last night around about midnight. This happened at a Adepticon.
Ninth edition.
No, not something even better. Adepticon, as you know, is going on right now in at Las Vegas.
Cool.
And yesterday, GW announced something that, well, a lot of things. They announced quite a few things. But they announced something that, quite frankly, everybody has been asking for. No one thought they would get, and they finally decided, yeah, you know what? Guess what? You guys are going to get it. Officially, we are getting Plastic Sisters.
Awesome! Oh, that's so cool. Oh my god, that's so cool. Oh, okay.
We are still a ways off. They're not going to be released till 2019.
Still.
But
been-
Games Workshop has officially announced, yes. Hey, how are you doing, Tomiki?
Hey, Tamaki.
But yes, officially announced, Games Workshop has declared that they are in fact going to make Plastic Sisters. And what's more, they are going to keep us appraised of the entire process. They are going to make sure that we are kept in the loop of everything that goes on. And I'm thinking they're doing this probably because they want our feedback as the process goes so that they can give us exactly what we've been asking for. Because, quite frankly, Sisters was released in 2016. Sorry, not 2016.
2006.
No, 1996.
Oh, the original
The original
Sisters,
Sisters was
yeah.
1996. And since then, we have not really gotten much in the way of new models. In fact, I don't think they've released a new model in the past, 20 years, give or take.
Celestine?
Celestine counts, but I mean,
that's it.
That was it. Celestine, we got Celestine even so. We got Celestine with the Fall of Cadian. That was last year.
Yep. Oh, that was a mess, Fall Acadia. And I don't mean narratively. I mean like how quickly that all rolled out and then just became a new addition to the game.
But the thing of it is, the launch was really rocky, but things have been getting better.
Definitely.
So, I mean, quite frankly, the amount of things that they've been announcing is just amazing. So again, Plastic Sisters, yes, we are getting them. They also announced the next 3 codices.
Oh, which and which?
So after we know the next, we just got the Tau Codex. The next codex after that is going to be Necrons. We know that, and then after that is going to be Drukhari. We already knew that.
Right.
After that, we're getting Imperial Knights.
Ooh.
We're getting after Imperial Knights was. Sorry, I made notes for this.
No worries.
So after Imperial Knights, we are getting Harlequins.
Cool.
And after Harlequins, we're getting Death Watch. And Death Watch is going to provide rules for mixed Chimera squads. So you will be able to finally mix all of your Primaris Marines. I had to work at the House of a Smoker. I am super allergic to tobacco.
That's rough. Sorry to hear that, Tom.
Again, I only brought this as a prop mostly because we're discussing philosophy and I couldn't get the matching fezes, so this was about as close as I can do. Oh, okay.
Sorry to hear that, man.
Now you feel sick? I'll put the pipe to the side. But it's meant to be a prop for prop's sake.
I don't think we're talking about the prop. I think he's talking about being stuck working in the House of a Smoker. That really sucks. I hope you feel better, man.
Well, one less thing to keep his mind on.
Indeed. That's very nice of you.
But anyways, so yes. We are getting, again, the next 3 codices are Imperial Knights, Harlequins, and Death Watch. I think Harlequins actually might be coming before Imperial Knights just because it'll be right behind the Drukhari.
Gotcha. I'm glad to see those two armies getting some love. They're definitely, obviously, played enough to merit supporting, but they're not. They've never been the most popular army, especially Harlequins. They just don't see a lot of play. So it's really cool to see them getting love this early in the update cycle.
Yeah. So they're going to be getting. So they're each different mask is going to be getting a. All the same rules as everyone else has gotten. So there'll be at least 6 of those. And so also we're going to get rules for knights. So the knights I'm really happy we're getting those because I'm a knight player.
Oh, yeah.
Another thing for the knights, we're getting a new knight.
Oh, cool.
The Knight Castellan.
Oh, that sounds promising.
Dude.
Is it new model or just
Oh,
new?
yeah, this thing we have the knights, and then we just recently learned we're getting the chibi knight, the smaller knight.
Yeah, I keep forgetting about this.
Now we're getting the Oki knight, the one that is just slightly smaller than a freaking warhound.
That's cool.
It is huge.
I was wondering when they were going to do that.
I saw the trailer I was watching earlier that I didn't want you to walk in, and hit my phone about. The first of all, the trailer looks really awesome. The guy they have in that trailer should get a model of his own. I mean, that guy looks pretty good because this guy just walks over. He's got this big, epic beard.
Nice.
I mean, the guy looks like a grizzled old war veteran, like you would expect for a freaking night pilot.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, that guy looks freaking awesome. And then all of a sudden, it's like big effing robots. And I'm like, okay. And then you see the size of this knight. This knight has 4 sponsons on it with guns.
Dope.
Like 4 turrets on them. Just 2 on the shoulder, 2 like right here, and then 2 a big F off planet or plasma cannon and something that looks like a or something that would put the rapid fire battle cannon to shame. Something just
That's cool.
I mean, it looked like a battle cannon that would be full auto.
That's cool.
I was
An
like,
actual
whoa.
rapid fire battle cannon. Oh, that's so cool.
I saw that. I was like, okay, I want that now. So whenever you guys can, Games Workshop, just all the things that I heard from this, I just kept looking, and I'm like, okay, Games Workshop, just go ahead and send me the routing information. I'll just forward you my paychecks from this point forward because I want everything. I'll just have to sell my house and figure out some other way to feed myself between now and then because, quite frankly, it's just so much good stuff.
Yeah. Is it the plasma cannon off the plasma obliterator? Do you know?
I have no idea what the stats on these things are. I just know that I'm like, okay, that is a huge thing. And I mean, we had the little mini knights in the front to give us thing, and this thing was that much taller than the mini knight. So
that's cool.
So we have the small knight, the regular knight, and then the big knight.
Nice. So we have like a good ascensive man.
Yeah, and then I think just about that is a Warhound Titan.
Oh, that's so cool.
Quite frankly, I'm like, wow, these things are awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I want.
Yeah.
So definitely going to be getting one of those when those come out.
Mm-hmm.
More news, which is also awesome. They've also announced that along with their community site, they're going to do something called the Combat Roster. That's right. Online list making support.
Finally.
For free.
Finally.
It's not ad supported, it's free. Games Workshop is going to be releasing that. They went to a guy who's already known for making these kind of apps, so they had him design the online components, and they're going to make an app for it as well.
That's
so
cool.
On your phones and tablets and all those other things, for free, you will be able to make an army builder like they did with Age of Sigmar. Same thing for 40K. You're going to get it for free forever.
That's awesome.
So
about time too.
About time. And yes, they even admitted that on the community forum. They're like, yeah, we realize that we kind of been dragging our feet about this one, but guess what? You guys are getting it. This is a thing. Yes, that's the reaction. Yes.
Yeah. I wonder what's going to happen to Battlescribe. Not that I'm going to miss it. Battlescribe I did not think was very intuitive or easy to use, but I'm curious.
They still support other games.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
They probably won't go anywhere, but their coverage of 40K just might not get as much love as the other games that they do because, quite frankly, if Games Workshop is already doing it, then there's no need for Battlescribe to really push it forward anymore. So they might drop that whole section. Then again, they might not.
Yeah.
I mean, but Battlescribe also does a lot of other games, so they're not going to go anywhere.
Indeed.
Even more news to
Yes, more.
for those of you who played Age of Sigmar. Yes, I know, not all of us. The guys,
I'm tempted.
they're releasing a new faction for Age of Sigmar. The Idoloth Deepkin. They're ocean elves.
Oh, cool. Cool.
I've seen the models for them. I don't play Age of Sigmar, but those models look spectacular. I mean, they had a giant, like 6 or 8 limbed sea turtle that was just floating there as a chariot base. You just have a couple of just these really wicked looking dark elves or sea elves, whatever they are, just riding into combat with these tridents and bows. And I was like, that looks freaking awesome. And I'm actually interested in buying that, even though I don't play this game.
So cool.
And I mean, there was one model that is the one of their hero units, whose cape looks like it's made of ocean spray, like it's a wave that just
so cool.
drifts up. The sculpt of this thing was just beautiful. I was like looking at that, thinking, I don't know what I would use that for, but I kind of want that model just to have it because it looks so damn good.
Yep.
And another thing for Age of Sigmar players, they're going to be doing made-to-order waves for characters. So they're going to be
cool.
So they're going to basically say, okay, for this next little section, if you want to just fill out specific sections of your army, or if you want to, if you want a specific model that's no longer in production, but you want us to make it for you, we will do that for you. And we're also making rules for them, so you can actually play them. It's not going to be tournament legal, but you can do it in match play, and that's totally legal. They're totally willing to do that. And what's more, they're bringing back their split shipping. So GW for a while had stopped doing split shipping. So if, let's say, you made an order and they couldn't fulfill all of it, they would hold your order until everything was ready and then ship it. Now, even if you order one of these made-to-order models, or if you order something that's just temporarily out of stock, they'll ship you everything else, and then when the one thing that's out of stock gets back into stock, they'll ship you then.
That. Okay, cool. Good,
So,
good.
split shipping, they're bringing that back. It was gone for a while, now they're bringing it back.
What is the benefit to withholding everything until it's ready?
Just because it's 1 year for the shipper, it saves on shipping costs, because if it costs you $8 or whatever to ship something from A to B, and you have to split something into 3 or 4 different shipments, it cuts into your profits a little bit.
Right.
But again, they're going like, you know what, you guys are complaining a little bit, and also, you know what, it really is just better for us to give you the products so you guys are outplaying the game and generating more interest in our stuff, and you'll buy more if we give you stuff to play with now. So just here, have the models, play, and we'll send you everything when it's ready, when we've actually got it built for you.
That sounds like the common sense way to do it. I'm glad they're going back to it.
Yeah, and it's just, so they're going back to that. So that's a lot of the news that has been released in the past 24 hours. Again, so just a quick recap for those of you who are joining us a little late. We're getting Plastic Sisters.
So cool.
The Imperial Knights, the Harlequins, and the Death Watch have been confirmed as our next codices after the Drukhari. So,
so what's the order again?
So we're gonna have the next codex is gonna be Necrons. After Necrons, we're gonna have Drukhari, then probably Harlequins, possibly Knights, one of the two, and then obviously Knights afterwards. So if it's I'm thinking it's gonna be Harlequins Knights, and then if not, it'll be Knights Harlequins.
Right.
And then the last one on the tail end is going to be Death Watch.
Tail end. Sorry, when you say tail end, do you mean the end of this year? Or?
No, tail end of this particular release order.
Gotcha.
We're gonna get more. So, but this is gonna take us through April, and through March into April and into May. So June, July, we don't know yet. We might still get orcs. Again, the list that I heard was that orcs are going to be in late June to early July. So we still might be on track for that. But orcs, guys, I got news for you. I don't care if you're going to be delayed. You're going to be delayed because
Yeah.
I want my knights and I'm getting them. And also, it's rumor mills have been suggesting that all the minor factions are going to be getting their own codices as well. So things like the Kroot are going to get their own codex.
No kid.
The Sisters of Silence are going to get new models and a new codex.
They have like 2 units. They need more models.
They're going to get more, and they're going to get more things to fill out a codex. So Sisters of Silence are going to actually be an actual faction worth playing. That's unsubstantiated at this point, but my source has been not yet to be wrong. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Necron always sounded like a bad cough. That's a good one. Thank you, Tamaki. I'm gonna keep that one.
to be fair, they are basically named basically Necro. So which is dead. So
Yeah.
And they are the dead faction. So it's not a very imaginative name.
True, and I think to me it always sounds like a cough because they're going for the Egyptian style, which I think is super dope. But they have that phlegmy pronunciation. The Sautech, the Nephalech, and stuff like that. So I hear it. I hear it as well.
Yeah. And to be fair, it is supposed to be what's the word? Aspirated. That's the word.
Thank you.
So so Necron is actually supposed to be, but the Necron itself is not aspirated, but
Right.
a lot of their names are so Imhotep,
Mm-hmm.
the Trazin, the Sautech dynasty.
Right.
The Silent King is Zarech.
I always forget he's got a real name. I always think it's like some big mystery.
Yeah, well, see, the thing about the Silent King is that he was never supposed to be a figure you knew about.
Mm.
The governing body of them was called the Triarch. So it was these 3 guys, and the Silent King would make his orders known to one of the other 2 members of the Triarch, and they were the ones who were the public faces. However, we know Zarech's name for basically 2 reasons. One, he's the only one of the Triarch that's left. The other 2 died in the War in Heaven, and the last reason why we know is because he was the one who ultimately made the deal with the devil that had the Necrontyr become the Necrons.
Mm.
We'll just be discussing him a little bit more this in the stream, but I did want to get this news out of the way just because it's been really
so
exciting,
cool.
and he
It's
didn't
so
know,
cool.
and I just wanted to tell him.
Oh my god, I'm so glad you didn't tell me anything until we went on stream. So good.
I wanted to call him last night when I found out. I just wanted to just text him, oh my god, we're getting this. And then I was like, no, he might not know. And if he doesn't know, I want to get his reaction on stream.
Oh god, I'm so glad you did, dude. Thank you.
So I'm glad that I guessed right. And yeah, so we got to see his reaction.
Oh
Yay.
god, Plastic Sisters. That's so cool. That's so cool.
So, yes, I'm going to have to be saving money now. Well, actually, I won't even have the chance to save money because guess what? I get my new codex that I have to buy. 2 of them because I'm going to buy in both Necrons and Knights.
Yeah.
I've got the new box set for Forgebane that I'm going to have to buy. So that's Necrons versus Admech, and the Admech also has the new baby Knights in them, so I'm going to be buying it for those.
How many does Forgebane come with? The baby knights.
2.
Nice.
Comes with 2 Knights. It comes with 2 Knights, a Dominus, and a squad of Skitarii. So those are.
Is that how it's pronounced? I've just been calling them Skitari.
Well, the only reason I'm calling them Skitarii is because I'm guessing it's based off of the Roman Triarii.
Oh, cool.
Which was they were the veteran units. So I'm guessing in similar pronunciation. So Skitarii.
That sounds like exactly on point.
Until I get corrected, otherwise that's kind of how I'm going with it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So you get a unit of Skitarii, whereas the Necrons, you get the new Cryptek, you get an Overlord, and you get a squad of Immortals and a squad of Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and also
No scarabs, huh?
No scarabs. There was something else you get. Oh, was it Lishguard? or
Oh, cool.
It's Lishguard, Lifeguard, however you choose to pronounce it, but that's
Yeah.
what you also get in the box.
That's cool.
So
No new models though, right?
no
That we
new
know of?
models.
Okay.
No. Well, the only new model is the new Cryptek model,
Right.
and really
right.
the only update for it is that it's going to be excuse me, it has that weird piece of war gear, which is the that's canoptic cloak of it, which basically looks like a scarab that it's riding on.
That's cool.
It looks cool, but
Yeah.
really the only update it's giving us is the fact that it's going to be on a larger base like it's supposed to be.
Excellent.
So
Oh, do they go on 32s now?
yeah, all
Awesome.
the Cryptex and the Overlords are on 32s now, so I'm going to have to actually go back and scale my models up a little bit.
Gotcha.
So, but other than that, that's because apparently all HQs are now on the bigger models.
That makes sense. But like even your warriors now get scaled up and everything.
No.
Oh, I see.
The Warriors and everything else are still on the 22s, but the Overlords, the Cryptex, those guys are going to go on the larger bases. So
That makes sense.
you know, Farguard O'Byron and all the named characters are going to go on. I think are going to have to go on the bigger bases.
Yeah. I'm really glad they're not redesigning the models because they're so good already. And, you know, we wouldn't make any sense to change one but not, you know, the rest because they have such a... the design language is really consistent, you know. Like, I couldn't imagine them, you know, redesigning, you know, the Lich Guard or the Praetorians and having it go over well, you know. Because I think that's about as much detail as you should put on those models. And I think they look great.
Yeah. Although it would be nice to get a few more named characters, which we might yet get.
Yeah.
I'd still, again,
That's
I'm gonna say this until the end of time, but I'd still like something that would be able to take on a Primarch
Yeah,
in hand-to-hand
definitely.
combat. But
Do you think that they might just buff the Catan? And I know I'm interrupting you, but I'm just really excited because I mean, I think that makes sense.
they might. Some of the stuff for at least the powers that for the stand shards have gotten a bit better. I've seen some of the teasers that they've released on the community site for the Transcendent Satan, so maybe not.
Right.
I would really love it if they gave us a better than 4-up invulnerable save. They're freaking mini gods.
Yeah.
Give us a better than 4-up invul save, which is just a 50 shots.
Yeah.
But other than that, I can't see them getting much better.
Gotcha.
They haven't really improved the Satan in 3 editions, 4
True.
editions.
I hope so, though, because you do need, you're exactly right. You need a way of taking on a Primarch. And other than buffing, you know, like your most powerful single model, I was thinking something, you just need a way of inflicting more mortal wounds.
Mhm.
You know, like,
But then again, I mean, tactics are another thing too. Again, we're an army, we are one of the few armies that can survive an alpha strike. So, what really is sort of needed is that the not only do we need a way of dishing out mortal wounds, but we just need a way of arranging of getting our armies to basically stay put. So
how do you mean?
I mean, like when in the game where I got ambushed by Magnus, the fact of the matter is he was able to get me into a corner and I couldn't push him back or do anything about it or move myself in such a way. Giving us like a relic or something like we used to in the old days, like with the Cloak of Darkness or sorry, the Veil of Darkness, which would allow us to teleport out and get out of a corner, would be something that because the streams.
So there was battle music that they had in for 40 minutes last stream. That's not cool. Hey, Ben,
Huh.
if you could hear us, someone's noticing we're playing the same music, and if you could switch it up, we'd appreciate it. You know, not a big deal, but nonetheless, Tamaki makes a good point, though.
That might be my fault because I recommended the group to him, but then again, I'm not sure what he's actually playing. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it would be. We never have the background music pumped in when we're running a stream because it would be too distracting.
Yeah,
Then obviously you'd pick it up, or our mics would pick it up. So thank you for letting us know.
And also, we have to be very careful what music we do pick because, unfortunately, we do get actually dinged if we use something that someone else doesn't want us to use.
Yeah.
So
It took less than 20 minutes for us to, because we were streaming. I can't remember the last time we did it, and I don't know. I'm not usually involved just because the timing doesn't work out. But we used to set up a room to stream a movie, and we'd all go and hang out and do that. And we were watching Nausicaa. that Miyazaki movie, Nausicaa and Hair at the Wind, I think it's called. And the rights to distribute Miyazaki films in the United States, even digitally, is owned by a small American company called Disney. And so we were algorithmically caught. We did the whole flip it when you stream it on YouTube, and we're caught within 20 minutes. They, were just able to figure out that someone was streaming their stuff, and then just... He's just playing Star Wars. Okay, cool. Yeah.
For a 40K thing, that seems a little...
It's a little on the nose.
Yeah.
Yeah, not inappropriate, but too appropriate. But yeah, so theoretically, we were kicked off YouTube. Actually, I don't know whose account that was because, because Mint Potion's fine as far as its YouTube presence goes. So I don't honestly remember which one of our personal accounts we were streaming from. We were just like, yeah, no problem. We'll just do this on mine. So one of us had their account compromised by Disney and Google. So we do. If it's a problem, we'll find out pretty soon. But yeah, if ever stuff like that happens, like it's fine for us to use that music. We have all the permissions that we need for that, for this type of stream. But always let us know if you want us to switch up to BGM. So thank you, Tomke. I think I heard Ben come in, but I'll grab him anyway. It'd just be faster. I'll be right back.
While he's gone away, I'm just gonna give you guys a quick rundown of what we plan on doing for today's stream. Because we weren't, I didn't know how long the news section was going to take, but I didn't think it would take the whole stream, but there was always a chance it would devolve into that. But thankfully, we got it out fairly quickly, and the rest of the stream, the plan is to discuss the philosophy of the factions in Warhammer and Warhammer 40, well, specifically Warhammer 40K, and how that philosophy is reflected in gameplay. I myself have studied philosophy for several years. I am not by any means an authority. I have no degrees or anything like that, so take all of this with a good grain of salt. And feel free to disagree with me because, quite frankly, that's kind of what this forum is all about. It's about creating an open discussion. Don't want to make problems or hassles? Well, too late. Sorry. But yeah, so the whole point of today's stream is we're going to basically talk about things about 40K and how sort of the philosophy of each individual faction is represented in the rules. Okay, so yeah, we get on the music down. Good. We're just going to be discussing mostly the Imperium because they are, quite frankly, the largest faction in 40K. But we are going to make discussions about the other factions as well. Chaos will probably be the second largest force we talk about, and we will talk about the other factions as sort of brief little mentions, but we'll get mostly into how their philosophy is reflected in their play style and how it shows on the board what their actual core beliefs are. And we'll talk a little bit about how about they govern themselves and a few other things of that nature. Well, considering that my co-host is kind of gone at the moment, I'm just going to go ahead and sit here calmly trying to waste time. No, I'm not. I'm actually going to talk about stuff now. So let's go ahead and open the discussion. So first of all, we're going to talk about the Imperium of Man. All right, managed to make adjustments. Hope you like it. Okay. So the Imperium of Man, as we all know, is a galaxy-spanning civilization. It is composed of quite literally a million worlds, give or take a few 100,000 at any given time. But yeah, it's a huge galaxy-spanning world. It's composed of trillions of lives, if not quadrillions or septillions. It is this huge mass of humanity. And quite frankly, managing something like that is, it's impossible. So that's why the Imperium usually adopts a fairly pragmatic viewpoint. Pragmatism is the heart of the Imperium because you need to be pragmatic in order to run a civilization that large. Yes, they do sort of enforce this monotheistic point of view in that everyone has to worship the Emperor. But how you worship the Emperor is pretty loose. It's kind of like the Church of England, where it doesn't matter what your religion is, but the king is the head of the church, or whatever church you choose to run, as long as that particular church is not necessarily hurting someone or or at least as far as the Church of England goes, the church basically says, okay, well, we want to practice this way, and they get approval from the crown, and then they have the permission to operate under the Church of England. So it sort of works the same way in the Imperium, where if you believe that that the Emperor is the spirit that sort of watches over you, and the way that you must worship him is to offer animal sacrifice. Well, as long as it's an animal sacrifice and you're not really hurting anything other than just, occasionally sacrificing a rabbit or whatever it is, then go ahead, stab the rabbit. We don't care. It's not really hurting anyone other than the rabbit, and we don't really care about the rabbit. We care about the humans. In fact, that rabbit might be a Xenos race, so go ahead. Be my guest. Kill the rabbit for the name of the Emperor. Or it might be that people worship the Emperor and thinking that the Emperor is like the sun and, is the light that guides mankind. Or they might believe that the Emperor is like our own Judeo-Christian view of God, where he's this benevolent figure who watches over men. Or he might be, as the Mechanicus believes, and he's the Omnissiah, and the Emperor is the physical manifestation of the Omnissiah.
Alrighty. Hello.
And that is how they believe that the Emperor is. Point is, you have all these different viewpoints of how to worship one single entity, but it is all encompassed under the Imperial cult, or the Imperial Church, however you want to look at it. And it's done in this way because, quite frankly, getting them all on the same page is just going to be impossible. The Emperor tried it and failed.
Yeah.
I mean, again, he tried to preach a secular society, and yet even so, the Imperial cult became a thing. It was just like, yeah, that guy actually, he might not be just the plain vanilla human. He might be something a little bit more than human. We might want to start worshiping him. And unfortunately for the Emperor, worshiping him actually started to help things. Like when they got something like
the cool guy.
Thanks
Good
a lot.
one, Tamaki. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. All right, I'll just leave you with the cool one.
Oh my God.
You're stuck with me, buddy. Your punishment is that I'm going to remain here.
That's too good. Thank you, Tamaki. The Imperial cult. Yeah.
Anyways, so moving right along. So again, in order to run a galaxy-spanning civilization, you have to be pragmatic. And it's the way this is sort of reflected on the tabletop is you see a lot of standardizations amongst things. Well, Huzzah is the same backwards and forwards. Yeah,
Yep,
it's palindrome.
Palindrome. Nice.
Yeah, but yeah, so you notice pretty much everything like amongst the Imperial Guard, all their weapons are essentially the same thing.
Yeah.
They're, a las gun from one unit to the next unit is going to be the same weapon. Sure, the Vostroyans might have, well, actually the Vostroyans are a little bit different because the Vostroyans make their las guns, so they're a little bit better because they have a better range, but they don't hit any harder.
Mm-hmm.
Same, you hand a Vostroyan or Mordian or Cadian or anybody a las gun, it's going to work the same for them as it works for everyone else. And the reason why they do that is because, well, it's just easier to order, 2 million power packs that are going to be universal between rifles than it is to have to order, one type of ammunition for different regiment. It just doesn't work. So, pragmatism. That's the
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
It's also a very feudalistic society, which is sort of
Totally.
You can kind of see that on the tabletop as how you have the grunts, which are all out under a sergeant. So every squad of grunts always has a sergeant, and then over that you'll have your even if you have the IG, you have the commissars, and you have the guys who are higher ranked, and even in the Space Marines, you have the chaplains and the captains and the other higher ranking people who are, again, it's hierarchical. They within the unit and within the regiment, they owe fealty to a higher power, who owes fealty to a higher power, which fealty to the highest authority, which is in fact the High Lords of Terror, which is the oligarchy that controls all of the Imperium.
Yeah.
So, it's a feudalistic society run by an oligarchy, and again, it is shown in the tabletop by the fact that we have a lot of these units which use essentially the same, within at least their own faction, they use essentially the same weapon. From Space Marine Company to Space Marine Company. A bolter is the same weapon. It's standard bolter shell. 1.75 millimeter, well, 1.5 millimeter or caliber.
Yeah.
It's 1.5 caliber grenade that is fired from the same bolter. The only difference is how effectively those squads actually use those bolters and the culture surrounding every individual thing, just like they are in the IG. Just like in the, I mean, you could argue the same in the Ecclesiarchy because you have the Sisters of Battle, but I mean, the Sisters of Battle have different convents within them, and each convent runs slightly differently, and they do a few things a little differently, but their weapons are still the same. So, and even within the Mechanicus, all your different Forge worlds and different things, they might do things slightly differently, but the equipment is ultimately the same. So that's sort of the main thing we want to get forward to. And you can see that clearly displayed.
Totally. Everywhere. On the tabletop and in any narrative stuff that you might read.
So that's how we sort of see the Imperium reflected on the tabletop. And again, the whole point of the Imperium is that for them, it's just totally pragmatic because you can see, like there was one novel, I don't remember the name of it, where someone literally says, like, yeah, if we tried to take this world, we would have to, if we would try to just assault the planet and buy this planet with Imperial lives, or the lives of our Imperial soldiers, we would have to, it would cost us 2 soldiers per square meter of this planet. And the guy who was talking was like, great. How many square meters on the planet?
Yeah, that's how they view life.
And that was the end of that argument. It was literally just like, okay, well, how many square meters are there? And we'll just dedicate that many guardsmen to taking this planet. It sucks from a human point of view. It's like, you're going to throw away how many millions or billions of lives to take a planet for what?
Sucks from a humanist point of view, because the person that John's talking about is human, like it's man doing this to his fellow man.
Yeah, from a humanist point of view, that sounds really kind of cruddy. But then again, from the point of view of the Imperium, where they're like, the planet is worth X number of more than X number of lives, great, we'll spend X number of lives and take the planet. That simple. That's very easy, dispassionate math. Stalin said it best, where he said, a single death is a tragedy. 1 million deaths is a statistic.
I had not heard that. Fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You haven't heard that one, really?
Yeah, no, that sounds like the kind of thing I would totally have heard before. Sorry, I'm just disappointed in myself. That's cool. Student,
Yeah,
cool.
He was famously known to saying, a single death is a tragedy and 1 million deaths is a statistic. He's right, because quite frankly, he's like, if you know the person who dies, if you have that personal connection, which a lot of these people don't, even within the same regiment from the same planet, most people don't know each other and don't care to know each other because they're going to die soon. That's dealing with the Catachans are the notable exception of that one. And quite frankly, Catachans are psychotic. The Catachans are basically it's an entire planet of 80s action heroes.
Yeah.
So
just an army of Rambos.
It's space Australia.
Yeah, that's well phrased. Yeah.
I mean, this is a planet so OP that just the regular people who live there and the planet itself repulsed a demon incursion.
Regular humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were attacked by a Wa, a Void Whale, and then a Demon Incursion back to back, and didn't even bother recalling their veterans to deal with it. They're just like, we got this. They just give them a knife right across the throat and give them a hello. These are the guys who, when they were sent to the battlefields of Armageddon, viewed it as paid leave. Catachans.
Oh,
what
yeah.
can we say?
The only way to improve upon Rambo is to A, get an army of them, and B, have them be from space Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, digressions aside.
Well, I think that's on point. I wouldn't worry about that.
Yeah, but digressions aside, the point, the whole shtick behind the fact that we have, this sort of impersonal imperium, even within regiments, within companies, within everything. No one knows the guy who's fighting next to them, and everyone just fights because, well, I mean, in some cases it's just better quality of life. The fact that you can actually, that fighting on the front line of a war is a better life than what you were living beforehand. That kind of says something about a lot of the places where they recruit these people.
Yeah.
Not always the case. A lot of, like if you're growing up in an agra world or on a paradise world or a lot of other worlds that are within the Imperium, you might have a fairly decent life. I mean,
There's civilized worlds like that, most definitely. Yeah, no, that's what caught my interest with the Ventrilian nobles, which is what I'm modifying my Cadian army to be. Just because, having something that's, literally, like the color palette is brighter and, and warmer and stuff like that. And, there's finery involved. That really sets it apart from the other stuff in the universe.
So, yeah, I mean, you get nobles who just join because
adventure.
It's a noble thing is to do. It's a great adventure and the thing to do, and go out into the world, to the greater Imperium, and fight for the Imperium of man, and get yourself a few kills underneath your belt before coming back and serving the humdrum life of a noble as you rule over the peasantry. You just don't know how good they have it. And then you have the guys like the guys on Necromunda who eat essentially vitamin-enriched shit.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no nicer way to put it. It is literally processed, cleaned, and vitaminally enriched shit. Yeah. And these guys sign up for the Imperial Guard just to eat better food, which the best description for was it has a flavor that is difficult to describe.
The vitamin-enriched shit or the guard food?
Yeah, the guard food.
Ah.
So, you have basically a paste, which is, if you've ever seen The Matrix, that sort of gruel that they sort of eat.
Yeah.
That looks like runny eggs or a bowl of snot.
Yeah. And
has almost no taste to it. Yeah, that gruel is better than what the people of Necromunda eat on a daily basis.
Yeah. So,
and people sign up to eat that as gourmet food compared to what they have been eating for the majority of their lives. And if that's the case, who can blame them?
Yep.
But yeah, so that's the quality. I mean, that is reflected on the tabletop. Just, you have a lot of, especially like in things like the IAG, where you have just a lot of infantry who are just thrown away to win a battle. I mean, let's face it, conscripts are the biggest unit because they pump out shots like nobody's business because they're armed with the same standard issue lasgun as everyone else. But you can take them in giant blobs and just throw them at the enemy. Heck, even the Space Marines they're child soldiers.
Yeah.
Literally.
That gets glossed over, but that's exactly right.
That gets glossed over, but they're child soldiers who have been basically chemically engineered, indoctrinated from a young age, and literally hypnotherapied into being the perfect monastic warrior. They are nothing but living, walking, killing machines. Even like the nice ones, I think like everyone likes to like, you know, crap on Kata Sicarius for being like Mr. Perfect, and yet this guy is a guy who, when confronted by basically innocent civilians, just basically cracked this woman's neck into the ground and kept walking without breaking a stride because he didn't care.
You made a brilliant point, which is that Games Workshop has created a sci-fi universe that, you know, real fans, you can tell because they would never choose to be part of it. You know, Star Wars fans live on Endor in a heartbeat. Star Trek fans put me on the Enterprise. Anybody who's actually like familiar with and appreciates, you know, the 41st millennium wouldn't want a part of it.
Yeah, the golden age of the golden age of mankind has come and gone, and we're living in the post-apocalypse of the golden age of technology.
Yeah.
So and in current events in 40K, literally the apocalypse, because the Cicatrix Maledictum that is literally, you know,
cracked the universe.
Yeah,
on the mortal realm. Yeah,
I'm pretty certain that the Joker is a chaos god. And he just said, "Let's put a smile on your face."
Excellent. They just put a smile across the universe and material reality.
You know what? Thinking about it, if the Joker was a real character in 40K, he would be chaos undivided. He would just be totally chaos undivided and be like nobody would screw with this guy. He would just be an incredible force of just chaos. I would hate to be the guy who ran into, especially any form of the Joker, but especially Heath Ledger's version. But yeah, that's a thought process I don't want to go through my head.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's what we have going through in the Imperium. I think I've covered up pretty much everything I want to go there. So now we can talk about the chaos, and because you know it's great, kind of walk into chaos.
Yeah,
and
it's a good segue talking about the Joker and the rest of the cast.
So there are 4 factions within chaos. You know, again, we were talking about Chaos Undivided, but there are in fact 4, and everyone knows about them. Really, the only time Chaos Undivided works is when they have a common goal that they want to work towards, and it's basically
ironically,
yeah, it's like, well, you know, it would benefit us as a whole to sort of remove this obstacle that would otherwise interfere with our great game. But once that's dealt with, we'll go back to trying to kill each other. It's kind of how chaos works.
Yeah.
So it's a very anarchistic point of view, but each individual faction has their own sort of moralistic philosophy. Khorne, for example, is incredibly nihilistic. He does not care from whence the blood flows so long as it flows. Nothing else matters. Back in the day, he used to have a fairly big code of honor where it's all about, you know, honor amongst combat. But no, it's just, okay, these guys are literally all about killing things. They don't care how they do it, they just do it. And that's why all the rules, if you notice, for the Khornate factions is all about getting into close combat, doing additional attacks, doing, you know, all of their weapons are designed with high AP in mind. All about spilling blood. And all of their units are very, they've all got like Furious Charge, and in previous editions they've had Furious Charge, and they're all about getting into close combat and getting all those extra attacks. And their current stratagems are all the same way. It's all about, like, okay, immediately after you've done this attack again.
Yeah. When did Khorne stop caring about honor? I thought that was a current thing.
It's been a lot less about honor. It has always, honor has been sort of part of Khorne, but it has been a lot less focused on, especially in recent times. So with I think with the rise of 7th and now 8th edition is when it really, the honor aspect of Khorne has been sort of thrown to the wind, because back in 4th and 5th edition, Khorne was about single combat. Like, you know, their heroes really wanted to do, you know, you wanted to get them into single combat with the other enemy heroes, and that was kind of how they really sort of shined. I mean, they still had all the bonuses to charging and other things of that nature, but you really wanted them to get into single combat with other enemy heroes. Nowadays, it's just more like, no, we're just going to attack, and we don't really care about the single combat anymore, not so much. So, that's Khorne. And then we have Nurgle. Nurgle is...
My favorite.
Yeah, definitely fatalism is the sort of philosophy that sort of governs that one. Again, fatalism is all about just who cares? Everything falls to ruin in the end, so who really gives a darn?
Yeah, but they're happy-go-lucky about it. It's the only it makes me giggle.
We'll have to look at that.
We'll hit you up on Discord because I'm really curious about that now. The Nurgle models, the Death Guard models, are the only some of the only models you'll see in the entire game that have smiles. It is exceptional.
Yeah, it's funny. When at our game store we have a player named Ethan, and he actually asked what's like. I was like, what kind of theme song do you think that these guys would have?
Ooh.
And I immediately just started singing. Come with me, and we'll be in a world of pure imagination.
Good call. I forgot about that.
And he just stopped, looked at me, and he's like, "That is just perfect. There's nothing better than that."
I put it in memes and Ben's sunglasses. Awesome. Thanks, Tamaki.
But yeah, these guys are the guys who just, the only angry people there are, I think, 3 people. Typhus. He's not a very happy guy.
Yeah.
Mortarion, just because he was never happy. I don't think the guy would know what it means to be happy. And I think there's a faction that I heard of Marines that they had that were also just more malevolent about spreading disease. It was less about, it was really like, we're doing this because we want people to be miserable, rather than we're doing this because we want people to embrace, the gifts of Papa Nurgle and things like that.
Yeah.
Nurgle himself is the happiest guy you'll ever meet.
Oh my God, yeah.
I'm like, it's like, come on in, grab a chair, let me pour you a drink. That chair is going to eat you alive. Just being in his presence is likely to make you sick, and that drink has got every disease ever created in it. But he'll happily offer it to you, and he means you no ill will by it. So, but yeah, it's in the models themselves, you can see that sort of, like you said, you can sort of see that fatalistic attitude, but literally and figuratively portrayed, because every single model, most of them are smiling. Yeah. Every single Nurgling has got a smile on their face. Also, every single Nurgling is rotting and dying. Yeah. Where it stands.
But that's okay. That's what they knew was going to happen. That's what their belief is based around, Yeah. And they're happy-go-lucky about it.
It's like, why be angry when everything is going to end in well? So why spend your time being mad?
Yeah.
Would they tiptoe by the window? Maybe. Who knows? They might tiptoe by the window if they thought that doing so would be a bigger surprise at the end of the day, and I was like, hey, and just surprise you with a hug. But then again, they might just saunter right past the window.
Yeah.
That'd be okay because coffee is only a dime. I mean, why a dime? I think in their case it might be only a nickel, but still.
Are those lyrics to the song? That's what I thought.
I don't think so. But anyways, moving right along. But yeah, so you can see it in their models, and again, that sort of fatalistic attitude is represented by their tactics, and also by just, look at Poxwalkers. Yeah. The fact that they don't care how many of their number gets killed, because every time they kill something else, their numbers just go right back up.
Yep. If there's stuff left of them.
Yeah. But Poxwalkers are just annoying as all get out.
God, they scared me more than Mortarion in the last 2 games I played against Death Guard.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Especially since every single model has disgustingly resilient.
Oh, God, yeah.
I mean,
A very aptly named rule. They're disgustingly resilient.
yeah.
Ugh.
And again, to contrast them with the Khorne models, you have the Nurgle models, which all look like they're at death's door, just happy to be about it. Whereas there isn't a single Khornate model that has a smile on its face.
Yeah.
They're all angry and angular. All the models are sharp and bladed edges to give them that sort of killer look to them about it.
Totally. And they're the spikiest. Oh, it is lyrics. Yep. These are you never me coffees. Oh, that's funny.
Fair enough.
I know it. I know it. Thank you for playing along. We, as part of this show, we're thinking of games that we could design just to have people, just to play games with people in chat, with you all being text-based, having your presences being text-based. So that's cool as hell. That's very fun. That's actually really inspirational for me. Thank you, Tamaki, as far as where to go with that. So yeah. So yes, Poxwalkers.
So yeah, so again, their stratagems, their everything about them just shows you that fatalist attitude. And it's funny because again, there's no real command structure within any of the Chaos factions. I mean, sure, we do have the greater demons and things of that nature, but that's just more of a reflection of how much power they have,
right?
Like physical power as opposed to how much influence.
What about all the champions and stuff?
Well, if you think about it another way, it's also, if you think about it, it might be an anarchy, but it's also a meritocracy.
Interesting.
Because you don't get the gifts of the Chaos Gods unless you show you're worthy of them. And as soon as you're not worthy of them, that power's taken away.
That actually seems really reasonable for especially for Chaos, ironically.
Yeah. Ironically, I mean, as opposed to the Imperium, which is touted as the good guys of the universe, not really good in any shape or form.
Not at all.
But they're authoritarian as all get out, as displayed by the sheer fact that the Inquisition is its own thing.
Oh yeah.
And that the Inquisition is the only faction of the Imperium that can literally take, like when you play the Inquisition on the tabletop, they're the only one that can literally pull something from any particular. If you're playing Inquisition, you can have a squad of Space Marines next to a squad of IG next to a squad of Sisters of Battle and have that all be one faction because it's Inquisition.
Yep.
I mean, it's literally falls under one thing, even though Space Marines operate on a completely different combat doctrine than the IG, which is yet again another completely different thing from the Sisters of Battle, which is a completely different thing from whatever else they might decide to just say, you're working with us now because I'm the freaking Inquisition. The Imperium is very much do what I say so, and in Chaos it's do this. Why? Because I've earned the right to tell you to do this.
Yeah.
Very fun. Very interesting thing to note there.
Definitely. Yeah. No, I do like how all there's just so much evidence of that, circular. Just like, oh my God, Chaos. Why would anybody ever do that? Wait a minute. Look at life at the Imperium for literally anybody. That's why people turn to Chaos. But oh God, under the rule of wait, hold on. You're like, why would you? It goes back and forth very, very nicely.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, look at that one TTS skit where I'm going to bring up TTS because one, it's a great series. You guys really watch it.
Text-to-speech device, y'all. If you're not watching the Emperor's text-to-speech device, but you're watching this show,
you're missing half the jokes.
You're missing half the joke. Yeah, go watch it right now.
But there's one little short skit where basically you have this Imperial citizen who's getting punished for basically crumbling some extra flavoring on his ration bar because it's like
a dead rat. He crumbling a dead rat on a ration bar.
Yeah, he crumbled a dead rat on a ration bar. Why? Because he thought it would brighten his family's day. And he basically gets beat up and has his imperial right of existence revoked.
Yeah. John's not turning a phrase, by the way. That's what it's called.
That's what it's literally called. And again, all done because one guy thought, hey, that's defamation against our bars. And therefore, you're going to, I'm going to do this because I can. And then at the end of the guy's like, screw you, I'm joining chaos.
Yeah.
And then the whole planet gets something happen to it. But yeah.
Exterminatus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't want to ruin it, but that's...
Oh,
you know,
sorry.
it's fine.
Sorry. Yeah.
It's fine. I mean, the way it happens is still hilarious.
Oh, yeah. Screw this, I'm joining chaos, is what he says. Oh, it's so good.
And it's, it's a great moment. But you could kind of see, why people would join chaos. Because living under certain situations, well, it can't get much worse. Doesn't always get much better either, but still. When people have very little in their eyes to lose, they will do some really things. Because they are ultimately what they want is change.
Mm-hmm.
Which is an excellent segue into the next faction of chaos. Yes, I deliberately forced that one. I'm not the cool one, Tom again.
I thought it was really well done.
Anyways,
John, yeah.
So moving on. So next we have the next chaos faction is Zeech, which is, well, we had when we talked about it last week, we said anarchism. That's not necessarily true. It's more about absurdism and surrealism. It's because he's not necessarily about what he does making any sort of sense. It's more change for the sake of change. I mean, yeah, he could. Again, Zeech is all about making things go from A to B to Z, just because. Yeah. Why not? It's like change is all about change for the sake of change and no other reason. Which is why his faction is focused mostly on psychic powers, which are all about changing the nature of things. I don't think I'd like to be the hot one, actually. Mostly because I'm sitting in front of a stove, and that would be a very bad thing.
Oh, please. You'll always be the hot one to me, John.
Let's not go there. Moving right along.
Excuse me.
As fast as I can. But yeah, Zeech is all about being, again, just a force of change, which is why Zeech has the most sorcerers, has the most psychers, Magnus is a follower of Zeech, and he is the greatest psyker alive. And then, yes, I'm going to say that even over the Emperor, because the Emperor, all he's doing at the moment
is... Not really alive, yeah.
Yeah, well, one, not really alive, but two, all he's doing right now is maintaining the Astronomicon.
Yeah. And
making sure that the portal on Terra stays closed, which, grant you, is a Herculean effort, and, befitting the status of a god, but quite frankly, it's one of those things where it's like, if your entire existence is being a doorstop... I mean,
I don't know why that never occurred to me before. Thank you, John. That's exactly right. He's a magnanimously important psychic doorstop.
Yeah,
oh my God.
I mean, granted, he's an important doorstop, and he's keeping the most important door closed and another door open. So, yeah, I grant you, he's not to detract from his importance, but he's not really all that important if you think about it. I mean, if the Imperium loses Terra, I mean, really, what do they lose? Yeah, if it was going to be a thing where, like, well, we might be about to lose Terra, so we're going to go ahead and just move the seat of government to another planet. They move the seat of government to Ophelia 7, or if they move it to Macragge, or any of a number of other worlds that could easily support the kind of government, the kind of galactic spanning civilization that is the Imperium. They could do it. The only real reason you wouldn't do it is because Holy Terra. If it wasn't for the fact that Terra is considered holy, the Imperium would have abandoned it long ago.
Yeah.
And also the Astronomicon. But if they could find a way of... I mean, they had the Pharos for a few minutes there. If they could find... The Pharos was something that was in 30K, where that's what summoned the tyranny into this galaxy. But it was a psychic beacon that I believe it was the Ultramarines discovered, and the Blood Angels were basically helping them fuel it. Or was it either the Blood Angels or the Dark Angels that were helping them basically keep it powered in order to help them maintain Imperium Secundus during the Great Crusade, or not the Great Crusade, during the Horus Heresy. But they destroyed it because plot reasons, and therefore. But I mean, if they wanted to, I'm sure someone somewhere could create a secondary beacon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure if we ever lost the Astronomicon, Gilliman would turn to Call and just say, "All right, you make us something that can, make us something to replace it."
Yeah.
He'd have something ready in a weekend.
Yeah, or knowing after what happened with the Primaris, he'd be like, "Oh, that's so funny you asked for that."
That wouldn't shock me.
That still pisses me off. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like funny you should mention that. I've been actually talking to that one Necron guy. It turns out we can actually switch the pylon things that we've been discussing recently and use those to make. So I was like, "What else have you been talking to this guy about?"
Oh, Belisarius.
Yeah. Apparently, the guy was one of the. We didn't really know about him until recently, and that's mostly because they rushed everything out the door, and I think that's mostly because everyone was having such a horrible time with 7th edition. So they rushed 8th edition out, and that's why no one has really had a chance to really like Belisarius Call. This would have been handled a lot better if they had the time. But the thing is, people were griping so badly about 7th edition that they rushed 8th out the door.
They needed a reboot. They really did.
It was... But apparently Belisarius Call has been getting mentioned in the Horus Heresy novels. So he was someone who was there.
Yeah.
Well, no, not retcon. It was
really?
It's just that this is happening. They're still releasing the Horus Heresy books. They're only halfway through, they figure, about halfway through the novel series at this point.
It's what, 40, 45 books so far?
So far. So it's going to be about 100 books.
Yeah.
But they're starting to introduce, he got mentioned, and you were going to get more of him as the books go on. So it would make more sense by the time we get to the end of the Heresy Law, why he is the way he is.
It's always good to talk to you, Tamaki. Yeah, get some sleep, man. I hope you feel better. It sucks that you had to work in that person's house who was smoking. But thanks as always, man. I appreciate it. So, yeah.
So, now he's gone and I don't have to worry about the peanut gallery. But,
not at all.
But
no.
Yeah, so
y'all are why we do it. We can tell you're joking, but nonetheless, it's a good opportunity to say that. You all are why and how we're able to do this, so thank you.
Although the next time I see Tamaki, after making him some lunch, I might have to give him one. Just one right on the shoulder, just for bam. Cool one? Really?
The cool one. Yeah. John wants to be the tough one, is what he's getting at.
No. Anyways, he was just giving me a dig, and I probably shouldn't date that one as off as I did, but it was like,
excuse me.
Anyways, moving right along. But yeah,
Baller Serious Call.
We'll get more of Call. His presence is going to be more explained as they release the novels, and it'll make more sense. But again, they just rushed everything out the door. A lot of people, again, they had more time, it would have been done better, but unfortunately they had to rush things out because 8th edition because 7th edition was so poorly received.
Yeah.
But we're not here to discuss 7th edition, we're here to discuss things about philosophy. Which we're not really doing, but we're kind of doing, so this is just how we're going to talk about it for the rest of it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
no, we've definitely been talking about it. You've just been, so well researched and straightforward in your presentation. We end up couching things in context with more words than the actual philosophy, because it is so clear cut. It's so clearly part of the design, as John really wonderfully researched and laid out for you. You can really see it on the tabletop, just like, that's totally fatalism, that's totally nihilism, yeah.
And in the case of Zeech, totally absurdism, and
surrealism. Oh my god.
I mean, considering that the greater demon of Zeech is a giant bird with 2 heads. The big unit for Zeech is called a pink horror.
Yeah.
Which is purple.
Totally. Yeah. And you have no connection in the aesthetic and the character design between the pink horrors and the flamer and the blue flames, and just all of a sudden there are people writing little demons writing, personified flame, and then all of a sudden you have all these Egyptian themes and all these birds, just no connection, just one to the other.
It's just the total mismatch and just throw it into the blender and see what comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Zeech in a nutshell. And again, you see it on the tabletop. You see it in their stratagems. You see it in the aesthetics of their army. And it just makes the fact that it makes no sense is just the demonstration of their surrealism.
Yeah.
And their absurdism. Just the fact that they're like, who cares if it makes sense? It's interesting.
Yeah.
Or at least it interests Zeech. I
Yeah.
mean, the fortress of... I mean, the fact of the matter is that the impossible fortress, which is Zeech's stronghold, has no defenses because none but the insane can navigate it.
Which there are probably plenty of people of in this millennium.
Debatable, yes.
Interesting.
Okay, I mean, if you have any ties to sanity whatsoever, you're not going to find your way.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Cool.
And then, of course, that brings us to the last and youngest. And by the way, I did go in order for oldest to youngest.
Interesting.
For the Chaos Gods. So now we have the youngest Chaos God, She Who Thirsts, Slaanesh. That one's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Hedonism.
Oh, yeah.
There's also, but slightly less obvious is perfectionism and also idealism.
Very cool.
They are aiming towards an ideal. You know, they want people. They are pushing to find that perfect pleasure, that perfect balance between pleasure and pain, the perfect execution of a strike. That is what drew the Emperor's children in. It wasn't that they were all about, all about wanting to feel good all the time, even though that is kind of one of the things that eventually did draw them, is that they felt good to do some of the things that they did, and that drew them even deeper in. What they were trying to be is they were trying to be perfect. I mean, the Ultramarines, they try hard. They try too hard.
They are the try-hard guys.
I mean, but that was their thing. Is that they were always trying too hard, and always feeling sort of inadequate about it. The Emperor's children were trying to be effing perfect. I mean, no ifs, ands, or buts. They were trying to be perfect. Lucius the Eternal, the champion of Slaanesh, was a guy who was so good a fighter that he felt the need to scar himself because no one was good enough to land a hit on him.
That I did not know.
Yeah, this is a guy who, again, he's like, I want to be a perfect warrior. In his mind, a perfect warrior is someone who has scars from all the fights that he's been in.
But he can't.
Unfortunately, he can't get any scars
scar him.
because no one was good enough to land a hit on him. It's like,
Yeah.
God damn it! If I can't get scarred up, I just have to do it my damn self. That's why he's the champion of Slaanesh, and why you can't kill the guy. You have to do it without taking any pleasure whatsoever in killing him, which is next to impossible. I mean, everything, even on the most basic, lowest level of existence, is happy to kill the thing that was trying to kill them. Because like, I killed it, therefore I'm alive, and I feel good about being alive. Oh, that's pleasure. It just takes over your body now. You have to be completely unfeeling about it. Even a Tyranid might not do it because killing him might be like there might be just a small tendril of pleasure in this thing. Killing something is like, yes, success. For, well, maybe not. Again, something that we'll get to the Tyranids in a little bit, but yeah, something that is purely animalistic, like the Tyranids, might not have enough depth of feeling, and therefore might be one of the few things capable of killing Lucius the Eternal. We'll never know. Mostly because I don't think there's anything in the Tyranid arsenal that can kill Lucius the Eternal.
No.
But anyways, yeah. So that's also reflected in their tabletop models, because if you look at the models for Slaanesh, they are all impossibly beautiful or impossibly attractive in one way or another. The Emperor's children models are all exquisite looking. I mean, their armor is immaculate.
Yeah.
Their weapons are polished and honed to a razor's edge. The demonettes and everything else are all seductive and designed to simultaneously horrify and entice.
Mm-hmm.
They are striving towards, and again, that ideal of that balance between pain and pleasure. The ultimate pain and the ultimate orgasm, really. It's no way of sort of
Yeah.
sugarcoating that, really.
Oh yeah.
Is
Is Slaanesh? I thought Slaanesh was a male.
It's Slanesh isn't. Well, all the Chaos Gods are androgynous, really.
Gotcha.
They are whatever gender they choose to be. The Eldar refer to her as she who thirsts, whereas other people refer to him as the Dark Prince.
Makes sense.
Again, she is both. He's both and neither. So telling him to go F himself actually makes total sense. And he probably does F himself regularly.
Yeah, I was going to say, people whose sex are male can do that. Yeah.
It makes total sense for him because it's like, you know what? It makes total sense because that's what he would do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she would do that. But again, you see it reflected on the tabletop, and collectively you can see the sort of, again, that meritocracy we were talking about earlier is reflected within every single faction, because the more powerful the unit is, the more it has done to gain that power, and whatever it is would not have that power unless it had the favor of the god.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's that. I mean, look at Khorne and Tuska the Demon Killer. He was just an orc who impressed Khorne, and now Tuska is a demon prince who fights other demon princes around the Rest Citadel. It's the highest honor he can give. Why? Because he impressed Khorne.
I haven't heard that story in a long time.
So, there is that. So, now onto the smaller factions, which we have a little bit less on. I'm going to start with the Necrons because there really isn't a lot on the Necrons. You can really barely call them a race.
Yeah.
Just because the number of Necrons that are actually still alive and capable of holding a coherent thought that is completely original is actually probably less than the population of the city of Los Angeles.
Yep. I like the way that John puts it. There's literally not a brain cell amongst them.
Mm-hmm. Not a single brain cell or individual thought, really, amongst 99% of the Necrons. The 1% who runs everything. Everyone else is a literal cog in the machine. So, I mean, amongst them, I was going to originally say they're egocentric, but they're not. Not really. Because amongst each individual ruler has a different set of philosophies, but they are all empiricists and realists. They believe in what they can see and what they can mathematically and scientifically prove, which is proved by their technology. They are beings of technology. And again, they're the one race that has no access to psychic powers. In fact, they're the one race that uses technology to deny psychic powers in the form of the pylons, the gloom, well, not pylons, but the dolmen gates which they use to access the webway.
Mm-hmm.
That's technology. It's not
right.
It's not a psychic thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just technology that they use to access the webway gates.
Yep. They use the products of their minds, not their minds.
Yeah, they have no psychic powers. Their defense against psychic powers is a thing called a gloom prism, which is basically a piece of technology that pushes the warp away. They have a fundamental understanding of science that no one else has. That's why every single gun in their arsenal is capable of doing things that no one else can. Back in the older editions, the basic Gauss gun could hull a vehicle, which is something else. You could back in the older editions, you could shoot at a tank all day with a las gun and do absolutely nothing. You could get a whole battalion of guys shooting at a tank, and they'd just be like, "What?"
Mathematically, it couldn't touch it.
Mathematically, you would just, and the guys in the tank would just go like, look at the light show.
That's the way I played.
And then
Hello.
But then the Necrons would show up and they're like, "Run away!
Yeah.
Run away!"
Fabulous Cool Hand. I don't think I've ever met you before. It's good to meet you. Welcome to Paradise.
Welcome.
Yeah. We're talking the philosophy of Warhammer 40,000 and how that informs the game design on the tabletop on this, our tabletop stream.
Yeah. But you can see how that sort of scientific, we're doing all right, yeah.
Yeah, we're doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing good, yeah. So we're, the Necrons, you can tell, are definitely, they're nothing but machines. They're all machines, from the lowest of the low to the highest of the high. They're all based on technology. And then it's sort of, they're all realists. They have to be. I mean, to be perfectly honest, the majority of the warriors don't have any way of gainsaying what they are told, because they don't have the imagination. They literally lack any sort of cognitive process to make an any other decision other than do what they're told to do.
Cool. 12 inches of snow. Dang.
Send some of that our way. I wouldn't mind it.
We've got a couple inches of rain and people freak out here in Southern California.
Here in Southern California, if you want to cause a traffic accident, throw a bottle of water on the freeway and watch the fun. Californians do not, as a rule, kind of don't know how to deal with rain.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you'll find lots of exceptions to that rule because there's more Californians than there are any other. You know. But, if you take the next closest state, which I think is New York, as the next. No, actually, it's Texas. Texas has the next closest population, and we still outnumber Texans 2-1.
Yeah. And we can't drive when it gets wet outside. Yeah. It's a phenomenon. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah. So, Necrons, no brains.
Necrons, no brains, no imaginations, so they just take things as they see it.
Yeah.
And it really is. But because they've been taking things as they see it since, time immemorium, they've seen quite a few things.
Definitely. Is it true that you would still characterize the named characters in game, and the ones who still have their sentience, even though they're not biologically alive? Imhotep, for example. You would still call him an empiricist and a realist, even though he's got his autonomy. Again, he's got his
autonomy, but he understands. We came into a whole mess of things where our power is totally diminished because we didn't wake up properly, did we? He knows his situation. He's well aware of everything, and he's just taking steps to do things the way he wants to. Heck, Imhotep himself is a great example to bring him up. Imhotep himself was not the leader of the Sautek dynasty. There were other guys who were there, and there were other pharaohs who awoke at the same time.
Right.
He just realized, he was just the one guy who said, you know what, all these other guys just don't get it. I do. So I'm going to take care of all the other ones. And by take care of, I mean that in the Inquisition way of Pam.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he just took over, and now he rules the dynasty as you do.
I did not know that. I don't know that much about Necrons, just because they always intrigued me. They're never the ones that I played. And Fabulous Cool Hand, we are talking about our favorite tabletop game, at least around here. The game that really started, this and the original incarnation of Mint Potion's tabletop stream, which is Warhammer 40,000, which is a turn-based miniatures war game, and we love it. We love the world they created. We find it truly unique. John realized brilliantly, this is a world so grim and dark that you can tell you found a fan or someone who at least really knows the world, because they created a world that no one would ever choose to live in. So John came up with a really cool idea to have a stream about the philosophy that you can see in the narrative behind, the certain races that you could play. It's kind of like StarCraft, but on the tabletop, where you can, and I'm painting with a problematically broad brush here, but there are different races you can pick, and John's figured out some really cool identity, philosophical identity behind how the races were designed. So that's what we're talking about today. John did a lot of great research and a lot of great presentation to see what the philosophies are and how they're there on the tabletop.
You played it on Xbox.
Cool.
You play the Space Marine video game, or which game did you play? Dawn of War, maybe?
Yeah, Dawn of War is an RTS. Space Marine's a third person.
Third-person shooter, but they're both based in the same universe.
Yeah.
And they both deal with the Imperium, which we discussed earlier, which again, a very pragmatic society, but also very authoritarian, and they use a feudalistic society to enforce an oligarchic rule, and you can totally see that in how things are structured for them. How they choose to wield the Imperial Guard, how the Imperial Guard is mostly made of conscripts. They actually have a unit called conscripts that you can take, which are basically just people with guns and told to stand in front of the enemy. They're not even given proper armor.
Nope. T-shirts and flashlights. What they are armed and armored with.
Yeah. So again, you get that, but you also have the elites, like the Elysian drop troops, or the Mordian Iron Guard, or things of that nature. So just with when we were talking about the Imperium, we just discussed that, how you have the only way you deal with having so many disparate sets of beliefs, cultures, ideologies, physiologies, and all these other things is just, you have to be pragmatic and just take things as they are, and basically you have to enforce as much as possible, be as standard as you can be, and then but otherwise just letting them kind of do what they do, and you just give them the tools to do what they do best.
Well said.
We also talked about chaos, and how chaos is very anarchistic, but also very meritocratic. How each sort of faction within chaos has their own unique philosophy, ranging from the nihilism of Khorne to the absurdism of Tzeentch, the fatalism of Nurgle, or the idealism and perfectionism of Slaanesh, and how each of those, you can see how all of those fundamental philosophies contradict and fight each other. How someone who is nihilistic can't be fatalistic.
Right. Yeah.
They can't take that pleasure in fatalism because they don't believe it matters anyway.
In anything, yeah.
So, they can't be perfectionists because what does it matter? They can't be,
exactly, yeah.
They don't care about change because what does it matter?
Exactly,
Someone who's constantly worrying about change is not going to be perfectionist, because what is perfection?
Yeah, and also, what's the point?
What's the point
just
of perfection?
change.
My idea of perfection keeps changing. Why am I going to keep going after perfection? Why would I not care about anything if my position is nihilistic? My position is going to change when I change this paradigm.
Definitely. And sorry?
So you can't maintain the solid position. You can't, if you're an absurdist, you can't maintain a fatalistic perspective, because again, all these different things. This is why you can see how clearly these ideas.
Oh, cool. Warhammer End Times. Dope. That's
Age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
So these things carry over somewhat to those factions there as well. We discussed more of the 40k aspect of it because that's what we know more of, but it is a sort of larger expansion on the fantasy. The 40k is a larger expansion on the fantasy equivalents.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
And I really love how what John's saying is that the four related but not at all compatible philosophies, that comes out really, really well. That's really, really awesomely characterized, with the interactive storytelling. that's present in the game design. Again, you can it both informed the game design and the game design informed the narrative in how every other Chaos faction hates every other Chaos faction. You know, which of these, fatalism is, a sort of like a type of perfectionism. If you take that perspective, which is just, that singularity of, just as we are all going to die, we're all heading towards this one thing, and that's a good thing that we're headed towards it, and what we're headed towards is a good thing, is, dying and then decaying. Slanesh's followers and Nurgle's followers get along just fine.
No.
Or is it? Are they the ones who hate each other?
They hate each other.
You're kidding. Okay.
Well, and also you were talking.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
Also, you were discussing fatalism, or you were discussing
fatalism, perfectionism.
Fatalism, perfectionism. That's not necessarily true. They again, I can understand the nihilism versus perfectionism because
right.
because Khorne. I mean, no one likes Slaanesh. They all hate Slaanesh, but I think Khorne and Slaanesh get by together a little bit better than the other was because Slaanesh would at least, Khorne would look as like, well, I would prefer that they get on with the whole spilling of the blood thing as opposed to prolonging things, but at least they are good about, when they actually get into a fight, that they are actually good about spilling blood, and they actually don't shy away from spilling blood. They actually lean into it. So there's that. So Khorne and Slaanesh get along okay, and also because from Slaanesh's point of view, Khorne, has that single-minded purpose of, nothing matters, but all we care about is the spilling of blood, and we are dedicating our entire being to this one thing.
Yeah.
And that laser focus of purpose is something I think that appeals to Slaanesh.
Definitely.
So those two are not as opposed to each other as they could be. But the fatalism of Nurgle, the sort of is like, Nurgle is sort of slightly apathetic. It's like,
yeah.
It's like, so Skaven is the rat race, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. And Skaven they believe in the horned rat, who is his own, but it's a chaos force in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways it's not. I think the Skaven would be classic egoists because they. What do you have here?
What do we have here?
We have a lot of things here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, the Skaven again would be the classic egoists because they don't care about. The Skaven don't even care about other Skaven.
Yeah,
it's all about number one. Every Skaven considers themselves to be, a tactical and complete genius, unappreciated by all the other, morons around him. But his plans are, and yes, bad things happen, but it's going to happen to someone else. Nothing is going to happen to me. Doesn't matter if it's a simple clan rat or one of the 13. One of the Council of 13, even though there's only 12 in the Council because the 13th seat is the Great Horned Rat himself. But yeah, they are all about number one. They don't care about, it's about themselves first, clan, somewhat the distant second, and then everything else is a tertiary desire unto those things. So yes, the head of Clan Moors does care about the clan only insofar as caring about the clan is something that's going to keep him on the council and also is going to keep him in charge, and means that if anyone pisses him off, he can just have them killed. Yeah. That's exact. They are the ultimate. They are probably the ultimate egoists. Kind of like the orcs in 40K and in fantasy as well. They're somewhat egoists, but a lot less so than the Skaven, because the orcs, while the orcs do sort of have that sort of big guy on top, they also realize that they're not the center of things unless they actually are the center of things. If they are the biggest orc, that means that they're the boss.
Yeah.
And therefore, they run the things, and therefore, everyone else does what I say because I'm the biggest and the baddest and the toughest.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's go over there and start a fight.
Yeah.
That's the orcs. I mean, the orcs are a Kratocracy, and that is an actual word.
Yeah.
Kratos, which is Greek, is not just the name of a character from a really good game.
Mm-hmm.
Kratos is.
We can say the name, God of War. Yeah.
Yeah, it's from Kratos means rule of the strong, or means strength. So a Kratocracy is a rule of the strong, and that's what the orcs are. They are fairly fascist. So it's strength and militaristic goals of the entire society. They do not care about things like, where are we going to get food from? No, I don't care. That's the ones who care about if you're someone who worries about things like getting hurt or worrying about supply issues, those are soft gits who are not going to be given any kind of responsibility, and they're just going to be ignored while the rest of us go worry about finding someone who's tough enough to give us a proper fight. That's an orc for you.
Mm-hmm.
Total survival of the fittest, total fascists and Kratocracy.
Sure.
The war only cares about finding a good fight and finding the biggest, baddest, toughest guy to lead that fight. And even once they're in the fight, even if that big, bad, tough guy dies, if the fight looks like it's going to be won by the orcs, they'll keep fighting, and then at the end of it all, they'll figure out who the biggest and baddest, toughest survivor is, and have him lead them to the next fight. Or if the big bad leader dies, and someone who's big and bad enough to tell everyone to get back in the fight is able to step up quickly enough and tell them they're all, get back in the fight. Everyone gets back in the fight. So that's the orcs. They're really simple. And again, you can tell which orc is the ones in charge because they're the biggest model on the table.
Yeah.
I mean, the boss pole is literally you hurt one of your own guys to give yourself a reroll on leadership or a bonus to leadership. That's them's the boss. The grots and snotlings are snotlings are just ammunition.
Yeah.
And the grots are just small things. So anyway, Skaven don't care. Just sort of kill each other if they were the one. Yeah, it's exactly that. I mean, all this. I mean, Skaven think nothing of friendly fire because who cares? They're in the way, and if killing them gets our goals done, who gives a darn? There are always more Skaven, just like there's always more orcs.
Yep. Or more humans.
Or more humans, depending on the case. Definitely more IG than there are Space Marines.
Yeah.
But, even Space Marine, when you get down to, at the end of the day, a Space Marine is a very expensive but still expendable asset.
Yep.
Just like the Skaven and just like the Orcs. But unlike the Eldar. Eldar are very cold and calculating when they make their decisions to get wade into battle. And every Eldar life is a very carefully measured commodity. So when they pick a fight, hopefully they're intending to win. But if it seems like they're about to lose, they will very happily abandon a fight in order to get themselves in a better position to try again later. Eldar, when they fight, they plan their fights down to the microsecond. It's when you see a Harlequins enter battle, it's like watching a dance. They have got things down to that kind of, that kind of timing, that kind of planning. And when things fall apart for them, it's a real blow because ultimately the philosophy that sort of governs the Eldar is determinism.
Interesting.
They are highly deterministic. So they're the ones who examine events as they are, both in the warp and in the given the information that they gather to determine the course of future events. And this is true both in Warhammer 40k and in Age of Sigmar, which is again, the elves are all looking at things like, all right, we study the past, we study the present to determine the future, and we don't commit ourselves until we can see that events are going to basically come out our way. And so we're going to push events here and here and here in order to get something here to go our way.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, in 40k they are led by the Seer Council, which is literally a group of seers, people who look at the future. That's all they do. And game
no worries.
No, go ahead. Bring it
no,
up.
please. No, we're talking about the world, not necessarily. Yeah.
So
no
go,
worries, dude.
Go right ahead. Oh, so I'm guessing you're playing Vermintide. So that's probably
yeah.
And they just released a new Vermintide game, which I hear a lot of good things about. So
Yeah.
feel free.
Mm-hmm.
Same universe, so it's what we talk about here will have same but similar. I should say, not the same, because the 40k is, again, it's a different universe than Age of Sigmar is. However, they are reflections of each other.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So
all the chaos gods are the same, for example. Yeah.
all the chaos gods. Well, with the exception of the Great Horned Rat, there's no analog.
Yeah.
For that. Well, I suppose the Tyranids kind of are.
Interesting.
Because the Tyranids are sort of, we'll get to the Tyranids a little bit more in a moment, but the Tyranids are that sort, once again, they're that enemy that has no moral view of the others. They are just about themselves, and they think nothing of friendly fire. It's all about the glory of Skaven and themselves, but
nice.
with they're also the Tyranids are also the enemy without number, just like the Skaven are the enemy without number in Age of Sigmar. But to go back to the Eldar for a moment, the Eldar, regardless of which faction of Eldar, they're kind of a republic. So they have,
Gotcha.
I mean, in the Craftworld Eldar do not, they don't stay upon one path for very long. They'll follow a path for a certain point, and once they felt they've mastered it, they go on to the next thing. So everyone goes the path of one soul. If they're a soldier, they'll do one thing, and then they'll reset and they'll still walk the path of the artist for a few centuries, and then they'll do the path of a farmer, and then maybe a politician, and then they'll do something. They do. The reason why they do it is because they're trying. One, they don't want to get focused on one thing, because people who get lost on those things become the lost. They're the ones who become the autarchs.
Right.
So they're the ones who are so focused on one thing that they have literally been lost to anything else. And that's the thing that happens to Eldar. They literally cannot conceive of anything outside of their chosen field. Where they also do this to force this on themselves so that they don't fall into the same traps that led them into the birth of Slaanesh. So
Interesting.
Okay, well, we got bored and just started, basically indulging darker and darker pleasures until then we eventually, basically our deepest, darkest desires became a dark chaos course. So that happened. Let's not let that happen again. So we're gonna just go ahead and fight boredom by doing things that we normally wouldn't do. Like, I'm a soldier. I've been a soldier for years. Well, I'm bored with this, so now I'm going to become a farmer. I don't necessarily have any desire to be a farmer, but I'll learn everything there is to be a farmer in order to not become something else, something worse. But yeah, so they are very deterministic, but they're also very stoic, because they do take a lot of all of that in their stride, and they kind of have to be.
Yeah.
Because I mean, when you are reduced to from a galaxy-spanning civilization to just a handful of craft worlds, or in the case of Age of Sigmar, just a handful of kingdoms left on the planet, or all the great kings are all gone basically, and you're just kind of left with a handful of kings to maintain the kingdoms and maintain sovereignty of a very small, now depleted society. You have to take everything very coldly, very dispassionately, and make your decisions very logically without passion. Because, well, one, you can't afford to be passionate because it's, if you become passionate about something, then you're going to care about it, and then you're going to make mistakes which you can't afford. So, the elves in both Age of Sigmar and in 40k they have to be dispassionate. So that leads to a very stoic society. And again, like the Lacedaemonians, who are the root of the Stoicism movement, they are all a warrior society. Everyone in their society is a warrior.
Really quickly, sorry to interrupt. John's going back to the history of that philosophy. That's not like a race in the not like a race in Warhammer or anything like that.
No, they were a race of humans. The Lacedaemonians, or as we more commonly know them, the Spartans. But yeah, they were an entire society based on the idea of stoicism. You do not show pain, you do not show fear, you do not show any kind of outward emotion. And that is where
I had the same reaction, by the way, when John was talking a bit when we were talking about the show, when he was explaining the Lacedaemonians. Pardon me.
So, and again, that's kind of where the elves in Age of Sigmar and the Eldar in 40k stand. They are a race where everyone at some point is a warrior. Yes, they might go into other things in their lives, but everyone is a warrior. Everyone is a volunteer militia because they have to be. Yeah, Games Workshop borrows heavily from Greek and Roman history and mythology, and I mean they just borrow from history. Just look at again, the whole Imperium is based on arguably based on English history, and I mean the history of England. But there are elements of Greek and Romans definitely there. I mean, it's the fall of Rome is all about is what you can call the Eldar, just like you could kind of say the Necrons are very Egyptian in a lot of ways, because they were all about maintaining Ma'at, which is sort of the collective good. Because before the Necrons, we didn't really discuss the Necrons earlier, but yeah, the Necrons before they were the Necrons, and when they were still Necrontyr, they were all about maintaining Ma'at, which was basically maintaining sort of this collective project. Everyone contributed, and you contributed to a project today that your grandson would finish years from now, because you were not going to live to its completion. But it was, you were sort of given that a position of honor by contributing to a sort of societal gain. There's a lot we could discuss about the Necrons, because they're a very tragic race, but we won't get into it because we have only a few minutes left to finish up a bunch of other things. But Games Workshop does a great job of using these ancient societies and a lot of the sort of overarching mythologies and overarching ideologies to make every single faction unique. We've been mentioning the Tyranids a moment ago, so we'll discuss them in a second. But
cool. The
deterministic Eldar and the very stoic Eldar are very different from the Tyranids, which are purely animalistic.
Yeah.
Their overriding philosophy is pure Darwinism, survival of the fittest. When they kill something, they look for the strongest and most useful traits that they can pull from the genes of whatever they've killed in order to make themselves better. Hive tyrants are the Tyranid reaction to using space marines. Biovores are their reaction to encountering orcs. The zoanthropes are their reaction to encountering Eldar. I mean, basically, whatever they encounter, they take the best part of that thing and basically weaponize it, and they are a force of pure Darwinism.
I think it's important to point out they're not cognizant enough to, they're the massive insectoid race. They're not cognizant enough to actually practice these philosophies, but those are the philosophies that are present, the ones that the designers came up with.
Well, that's the thing. We're not entirely sure how intelligent the Tyranids are. On an individual level, yes, he is absolutely correct. A single Gaunt or single Gene Stealer or any real single Tyranid entity on its own has no necessarily greater intelligence than the sort of low cunning of an animal. However, they have this huge gestalt psychic interconnection web, which if you think that each synaptic creature as a synaptic link in a giant brain that is galaxy spanning, then the Tyranids as a whole could be considered a single individual. And therefore, if you consider them to have if they are actually an intelligence of that magnitude, then they are the most complex bio-individual, I suppose, in the galaxy or in anything, because their literal neurons are creatures. So, I mean, if you consider that every hive fleet is nothing more than a single cell of their brain, that kind of leads you to sort of wow, this thing is intelligent as all get on, isn't it? And
totally.
When you kind of realize that this thing is doing what is effectively a galactic pincer movement,
yeah,
and the fact that we've barely seen any part of this thing really hit us, in Milky Way galaxy, you can kind of see it. Where we're going with that. And again, they're sort of like the Skaven of 40k in that they're it's an enemy without end. It's the enemy that everyone else is the enemy of, because they're just Skaven ally with no one else other than other Skaven.
Yeah.
Sort of begrudgingly at that. And again, we're starting to see that within the Tyranid hive fleets as well, because the Tyranid hive fleets are it's like, well, we ally with other hive fleets. And begrudgingly at that, because the hive fleets kind of look at each other at this point as, you're possibly food. Yeah. But I'm not going to fight you because the overriding intelligence that controls this is that we shouldn't be fighting at the moment. But if that intelligence sort of eases its grasp on us, we just might fight you just because there might be something in you that we could benefit from. Again,
yeah,
the Skaven and Tyranids are fairly similar in that regard.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm not sure about the Skaven, but the current meta is that the Tyranids are just the greatest threat to the galaxy. When I say the meta, I don't mean in the game. I mean narratively. They are the greatest threat. Now, all these great, gigantic incursions of demons from the netherworld, no, it's the Tyranids.
Although the thing that might be a future threat is the last race we have yet to discuss, which are, in fact, the Tau. They are the youngest and smallest race on this list that we've been going through. And no one likes them. No.
Well timed.
The thing about the Tau is that no one likes them, or at least gameplay-wise, is because they are the most technologically advanced race. And it's hard to hate them.
Yeah. Would you say that they're more... Sorry to interrupt you, but that poses a great question. Would you say that they're more advanced than the Eldar, or just that relative to how long they've existed, they're advancing more rapidly? Because that's a good question.
Technologically speaking, perhaps not.
Gotcha.
But they're not far off, because they've recently gotten technology that has allowed them to access the webway. Or if not the webway, then definitely the warp, because they have been sending ships into the warp. They have a nexus that basically sends ships across interstellar space that is allowing them to expand. They're now in their 5th sphere expansion, which is the 4th sphere got lost in the warp. But the 5th sphere stands proudly. Damn it, no. Okay. That was a Monty Python reference. Never mind.
Interesting.
But yeah, the thing that people don't really like about the town is because, well, for the longest time they were too damn good. Their guns would just pick you off before you got anywhere near.
And they were really easy to play. Like, they were just straightforwardly the good long-range shooting army.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they were just objectively the best army that you could field.
Yeah.
And they were that good because, one, they had the best guns, and two, if you tried foolishly to get these guys into assault, you are going to be shot to death by not just one unit, but by everybody.
Yeah, that's a rule that remains to this day, which is if a friendly unit with an X amount of range gets charged, everybody gets to fire Overwatch.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can only fire Overwatch once per turn, so if...
Not anymore.
I stand, or corrected, I should say. So...
Yeah, so they got even better.
Yeah, that's not fair. But again... The reason why they can do this is because they all believe in something called the greater good, which sounds very socialistic and communistic, and yes, it is. They operate on a caste system, so you have 5 castes in Tau society. You have the Earth caste, the Water caste, the Air caste, the Fire caste, and the Celestial caste, also called the Ethereal caste. The Earth caste are the scientists, and they're sort of I guess you could call them the grunt caste. They're the ones who make all the technology, but they're also the ones who grow all the food and make everything. So that's what the Earth caste does. The Air caste is the pilots. So they're the ones who ferry things from place to place. They're all the transport. Everything is run by Air caste. All the pilots are air caste, space, void travel, and all handled by the air caste. The water caste are all diplomats. Their job is to help all the castes sort of interact with each other. They're also the ones who interact with all the other species that they bring into their fold. They're the ones who the water castes are the ones who maintain sort of diplomatic relationships with other alien races, and they try to do all that thing. So, and then you have the fire castes, who are the warrior castes. So everything you use in the battlefield for 40K, those are all fire caste warriors. So,
with the exception of the fighter bomber, technically that's part of the.
That's technically the fighters and the you actually also can field ethereals. So
that's right. Yeah.
Those are the only two, with very few exceptions. Pretty much everything on the battlefield for the town are all fire caste. And then you have the ethereal caste, which is the ruling class. As you were mentioning earlier, how the Games Workshop has drawn from different mythologies and different cultures. This culture is very Japanese, in that there are very strict, rigid social rules, social hierarchies, and social etiquettes that are sort of observed. And even the aesthetics are very Japanese. The armor that you see for your standard fire warrior is very much inspired by samurai armor. You'll have one pauldron slightly larger than the other to give them, so that you can see that's how they are in their firing position, which is very much akin to samurai armor, because they'll also have one pauldron slightly larger than the other because they're archers, and that's when you draw your bow, that's the side facing the enemy. So there's no need to armor this side if you're going to be wielding a bow or a gun or something, and this is the side that's towards the enemy. Well, there's no reason to armor up this shoulder. Give this one a bit more padding to deflect the other incoming arrows and such. And again, they have the whole society of honor, the ruling caste of, well, in Japan it was the daimyo and the samurai, who were the sort of ruling caste. Well, actually, I take it back. You have the daimyo and the other shogunates, who were the ruling class underneath the emperor, who would be the ethereal supreme in Tao's case.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you have the warrior class being the samurai, even though technically they would also have just peasantry that they would recruit into the armor, but the actual professional soldiery are the samurai. That's their own caste system. And then you had you have another group of diplomats and other people who are merchant class, and again, very striated, although technically they weren't caste based, so you could move within the castes.
Interesting.
But there were the movement was fairly limited, especially after a certain point in history. But it's reflected within society, and you can definitely see that amongst their society as well, because they have this sort of greater good. They believe in this thing called the greater good. So the greater good of Tao society is what motivates all of them. So there is a strong what's the word I'm looking for? The discrimination against the individualistic attitudes.
Ah.
So they very much shun the ideas of individualism, which is why all the Tao septs are they all have a similar look about them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the naming conventions of the Tao is very standardized. You could hear a Tao's name and know everything you need to know about them.
Interesting.
Like Oshova.
Mm-hmm.
O is actually his well, if you broke down his entire name, his name tells you what his rank is, where he's from, what his actual name is, where what his epithet is.
Interesting.
And you break it down.
Epithet, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Shavas is actually is an epithet. It means farsighted.
Ah, cool.
I believe his actual name is I don't remember. It's his Shas, I think is his name. Something like that. But the guy's full name tells you everything about him.
Right.
Where he's from. Again, where he's from. What his rank is. What caste he belongs to. Everything is there in his name. And this is true for every single Tao. They are all followers of, or they all have a sort of standardized naming convention, which is scary, but yes, that's how it works. And it's also funny because the Taoism itself is a philosophy.
Right.
So, which they kind of do follow and kind of don't follow. Taoism is all about, if you really think about it, is about governing it's about governing for the benefit of everybody, governing for the greatest good, which is what they espouse, but not necessarily what they're really following. So you could say that the ideal that they strive for is Taoism, but what they actually have is socialism.
Well said. Super cool.
So that brings us to the end of, and again, we've seen how that's sort of reflected on the tabletop, because you see all the units are fairly standardized within. I mean, you're looking, knowing the difference between an X302, an XV302, and an X109 crisis suit, and different. The fact that you have to know the difference between certain numbers of crisis suit shows you very much how these guys are very standardized, and how
just de-individualized and communalized they all are.
Yeah, so I felt the need to bring that up before we wrap things up.
Yeah.
But yes.
No, that's a great point. That's why, you might be looking over, for those of you who've ever played or just looked at the Tau, any literature to do with the Tau, you're like, what's with all this gobbledygook numbers? Why can't they take the creative powers, the descriptive powers the writers clearly have, and call them something distinctive, because it's not in their character.
Mm-hmm.
Simply not.
Simply not. So, All right,
Cool.
so it is currently 10 o'clock, and I've been yammering on for about an hour and a half now about all these different places. So
Yeah, but it's been great. This is a really cool idea. I would love to revisit this this format and this topic again in the future. So thank you for joining us, Tom. I'm sorry.
I think in the future we might discuss sort of the historical inspirations for some of these guys. And
Good call.
because, like for example, like the Necrons. I think the Necrons actually are a combination of between the Egyptians and the Jewish people. Because
Very cool.
I mean, just to give a brief little thing, then nothing. I mean, I'm not taking their side on anything, but the Jews like to portray themselves as never having anything good really having happen to themselves, despite being the chosen people. And the same thing can be said of the Necrons and the Necrontyr, because nothing good ever really
Interesting.
happened to them.
Right.
They were born on a verdant world that went to hell because their star basically got angry with them one day and cursed them all with really short, painful lives. Their entire society is based on the fact that they're not going to live very long, and therefore they have to build for future generations. The one race who could have helped them with that thing, with their problem, basically told them to F off. All the best worlds and all the places that they could have lived were taken by that race who told them to F off, and therefore they were basically forced to make do with the worlds that were less than ideal and had to live in kind of like the worst part of the world. Even after everything, after biotransference and sort of becoming one race, one mind kind of thing, they still got to shorten out the state because it's like, well, we have no free will, because literally the king can override any one Necron anywhere. Which is why once the war in heaven was over, was kind of like the Jewish diaspora, because it's like, okay, well, we've won our freedom, but where are we going to go? We have no homeland to go to. The Eldar are hunting us no matter where we go, and the galaxy is in ruins. Let's just, resign ourselves to being nowhere for a while and escape.
Interesting.
And then when they came back, there's something coming back to a land which they kind of assumed was ours. Like,
Right.
well, this
You
kind
mean
of,
theirs?
I mean, it really is. Yeah, it's like, well, there's. So it's like, well, this is, the Necrons from their point. I speak as a Necron player because I'm, the thing of it is like when you show up and you're like, you guys have built an entire city on my front lawn.
Yeah.
Do you mind terribly effing off? And they're like, how is this your front lawn? We were here first. No, actually, I was here first. I was just not around. So it's a big case of salutary neglect and a whole lot of other things. So there's a lot of parallels.
What kind of neglect? Sorry, what's it?
Salutary neglect.
Gotcha.
So there's a lot of things that we can talk about, and that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the Necrons.
Yeah.
We could do all kinds of things when it comes to different factions of Space Marines and
Totally.
different factions of Orcs and
Or
different
guard. Yeah.
Guard, and how again we just had a whole discussion about how the Tau are a reflection of Japanese culture and society.
Definitely.
So that's probably a topic we'll revisit sometime in the future.
Yeah,
But
I love
for
it.
now, my throat is dry, and we've been yammering on this late. We have to get to work tomorrow, so.
Yeah, but I love it. I love the topic. I love the format. Tom Key, thank you as always for joining us. Fabulous Cool Hand. It was really nice to meet you, my friend. Cool. All right, thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next week. We probably won't be doing a talk show simply because that's what we did this week, but we don't know for sure yet. We haven't announced anything. But same time, same place, Wednesday at 8. And if we post any changes, that'll be announced on Discord or